This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Last week's race at Road America was not without some controversy, but our drivers always must put the past behind them and look forward to the next race. Tonight, much like many GT drivers have been lately, they prepare for Daytona International Speedway. It's fast, the draft is powerful, and as always, championship points are on the line. We'll see if anyone can stop Carl Modoff's winning streak as we get ready to watch round 5 of the PRL GTE Sportscar Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Florida certainly sees plenty of racing in these cold months. Daytona presents a beautiful backdrop for all the snowbirds to escape the weather. But to get a closer look at this track, why don't we dive into our track guide? Welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. While many oval fans associate this Central Florida track with mainly NASCAR, the road course has gained just as much worldwide fame thanks to it hosting motorcycles and sports cars for decades. In fact, the flagship road race, the 24 Hours of Daytona, has become a major draw for drivers of all disciplines, many eager to have a go at endurance racing. The stats make this place sound relatively simple, with 12 turns spread among 3.5 miles. Indeed, a majority of the lap is spent on the oval portion, where you fly along the notoriously steep banking. But it's easy to underestimate the challenge presented to the drivers. The infield portion begins with the scary kinked entry of Turn 1. Not only is it the fastest part of the track, but the transition from the banking to the flat tends to upset the car as you slow it down. There's also the bus stop chicane on the backstretch. Added in the 80s, this is a tricky piece of circuit that punishes a poor exit severely, with it leading back into the latter half of the oval. As you'd expect, the long periods on throttle mean that drafting tends to play a factor in the racing. It also means passing isn't usually too great of an issue if you have the pace to catch someone. The more difficult thing is managing to gap your opponent so that they don't ride in your slipstream once you get by. With half a century of endurance racing collected among these walls, it's not unfair to say that road racers have just as much claim to call Daytona home. Fans who come to watch certainly won't be disappointed by the high speeds and fantastic thrills it invariably provides each year. You see a few of the views around Daytona with mostly the lights on. We're going to be racing here with the sun going down, of course. But Sam, lights on or lights off, this place is spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. This track is made famous on the oval course, but also the road course is equally as famous. People from all around the world, racing drivers from all around the world, come here to race at the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona, which is happening very soon in the real world. Of course, iRacing just had its version of it here. And there were many people who were happy after those races, many people who were not so happy. Well, I'm sure we're going to see a happy person here tonight, whoever takes the checkered flag after 60 minutes of racing around this 3.5 mile, 12 turn roval, you could call it. It says it's a road course, it's a roval. And you know, it's a very fun one, Joe. Sometimes rovals get a reputation as being hard to make passes, particularly in the infield section. Daytona, it's not really like that way. There's great passing opportunities down into turn 1, also the horseshoes, and then of course on the banking you always have some incredible racing there, and sometimes even the odd photo finish or two at the finish line.
We'll see if it stays close tonight, but as always, today's race is brought to you by SIMSA. Simulation Motorsports Affinity provides many consulting services, from completely customizing simulators to managing teams, individual drivers, and complete events. They're working hard to bring organizations, companies, manufacturers, teams, and drivers together at one place to support and promote sim racing internationally. They're also bridging virtual and real motorsports by providing a network between these two, involving sim racers, real drivers, teams, managers, engineers, and of course, motorsport fans alike. You can find out more about how you can get involved at simsa.net. Today's broadcast is also proudly sponsored by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products create an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. The winner of Division 1 here in the PRL GTE Sportscar Series will get a ButtKicker Gamer 2 or a simulation kit. Also, both drivers of the winning team in the team's championship will get a free t-shirt. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com. So we talked a little bit about those prizes that are in store, but let's talk about who's where in terms of earning those prizes. Karl Modoff, 3 wins in 3 races. And right now, the fight is very close between Acosta and Eisler. Neither's won a race yet this season, but they've been consistent. In fact, I believe Modoff, Acosta, and Eisler, if I'm not mistaken, are the only 3 to have finished within the top 5 every single round so far. Pisano and Fredes round out your top 5. Let's go over to the team's championship here, Sam, where they're all competing for a t-shirt.
Well, bragging rights too. Some people have enough t-shirts, so they still want to end up winning the championship anyway. But if the championship ended right now, it would be Punto CL Racing Blue getting the t-shirt. I wonder if they would give them a blue t-shirt. But RESR Esport is trying their best to stop that. They're less than 30 points back. SRT Esport Blue sit there third in the points as well. I definitely think they should be ordering blue t-shirts, since 2 of 3 teams there. But bad joke over. Let's move on down to 4th in the team standings. GTR Sim Sport, 65 points back, and Racer Motors have a little bit of work to do, sitting 87th back there, 5th in the points.
And if you've never watched this PRL GTE series before, well, let's give you the race details. We are on round 5 out of 10. Unfortunately, the first round was canceled, hence why we were talking about 3 rounds finished. They have 1 drop week, of course, that they are allowed to use in this, and there's 4 different makes of cars, but you have to stick with the same one. We had a driver who didn't do that last week, and, well, we found out what happens. You get disqualified after the race is over. Race distance is at 60 minutes long, which means you can expect 1 stop for fuel. The cars are open setup out here, though, today, so they will be able to tweak them to their liking and try and get something out of that. They also have bonus points for the fastest lap, pole, or fewer than 3 incidents during the course of the race itself. So definitely reason to try and stay clean and be fast and try and get as many points as possible in this championship, which is brought to you on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure and subscribe. It's very easy to do. If you scroll below the video on YouTube here, you'll see a big red button that says subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet, click it and you won't miss a moment here on IESN. Qualifying is underway here, Sam, and right now, Abner Acosta is looking quite good from what I'm seeing. I'm trying to find where Modoff is, though.
I don't see him, Joe. I was looking up and down the score, and he might not actually be here this week, which of course would definitely shake up the points. But yeah, Abner Acosta currently has a half a second lead over the rest of the field. Now you see all the cars on track together, so that could be pace, and actually Christian Eisler just bumped his way up to second, just a little over a tenth and a half back, I would say, of Acosta. But because all the cars on the track at the same time, you know, you could get lucky with getting the slipstream, getting a draft of 1 lap, and that could help bump your time and pull you up a few positions. So some drivers will be trying to maximize that effect while they're out here, because it's only a 15-minute qualifying session. Sounds like a lot of time, but when you've got as many cars as we have, and, you know, a pretty long lap, 1 minute and 40 seconds around here, that kind of limits the amount of opportunities you get to put in a clean qualifying run.
Ooh, Abner Acosta just improved his qualifying time, so it's now nearly 3/10 that Eisler has to make up on him. You can see the sun putting a beautiful orange glow here on the stands as it goes down. Right now it's Well, actually, no, it's early in the morning, so they're doing a morning race. I thought it was sunset. It's actually 7:35 a.m. in the morning virtual standard time right now, so I guess it's going to be getting hotter instead here today. Down in the pit lane, we have our pit reporter joining us today. Wei Han Chan is going to be rushing up and down to try and keep us abreast of the stories down there. Wei Han, a lot of these drivers have been probably doing quite a few laps around here lately, so I'm guessing due to the 24, familiarity won't be a problem.
Yeah, very much so. Well, I think the fact is that, the Daytona Road being one of the more kind of stable tracks for all of us on the circuit, it is going to be something that's familiar, and the drivers should not have too much of a learning curve as they get used to racing here.
It certainly should have been raced quite a few times by many of the drivers. As we see, Chase Mundy last lap didn't go quicker. Looks like he may have been on an outlap as well, since that was a bit of a slow one. Acosta just took a quick tow to get back into the pits, so he's going to try and come back out with a fresh car. I'm watching Eisler to see if he can improve, because he's coming across the line. It looks like he has a non-lap, though, Sam.
Yeah, well, at the front of our shot there just a moment ago, you would have seen Sean Romig having a good run down the front straight, made a couple of passes, and got enough of a tow that bumped him all the way up to fourth quickest. So Sean Romig had a good lap, and he's put his number 71 machine up to fourth on the grid, behind Acosta, Eisler, and Peterson.
Kind of a bit of a train here going with one of the teams. I'm seeing Horatio Calquin, Paulo Munoz, Anthony Pisano, and Ignacio Fredes all in line as they come around, although I think Calquin isn't necessarily on that team now that I'm looking at the paints. But those behind him certainly look like they are working together, so maybe this will help Munoz get farther up. He's in sixth right now. Let's see what this does. Ooh, had an off somewhere, so that lap didn't count. Same thing with Anthony Pisano. Behind them, Fredes, well, all three of them had an off somewhere on that lap, so we're going to have to come around, as Donald Olson, though, does get one in, and that puts him into 27th.
Yeah, Jose Malbrand recently jumped his way up to third there. As far as the team championship is concerned, Joe, from what little I've done studying ahead of this race, it seems that if you're looking at a car and it's not blue, it's not really contending for the team championship at the moment.
Oh, Romig getting a nice little shove here across the line. That was with Ted Lowendick, I think, giving him the push, but looks like Romig's lap did not count. Both of them abandoning off into the runoff of turn one.
If you get a 0x from an attempted bump draft gone wrong, your qualifying lap's not going to count.
Exactly. I was kind of wondering about that. I mentioned earlier we had a driver who got disqualified from last round. That would be Christopher Pfeffer, who is back out in his scheduled car, which is here in the Ford GT. He's right now sitting in 8th. At least these points will count for him, but that really hurt that he had a no score last week and is going to have to take that as his drop week, essentially. Here we see Semkovic also coming through. You look at Paulo Munoz just behind him. 140.3, that's his quickest, and he goes up to fourth place, outside of the second row for the 05.
Now, normally at a track with long straights such as Daytona, you would say qualifying doesn't matter a whole lot around here. But of course, normally that's because we're looking at long endurance races when we watch GT races at Daytona. I have a feeling qualifying is going to be quite critical today just because of that 1 hour time limit. It's going to go by in a hurry.
Bortal up to 11th with that last lap, 140.628. That was a nice jump for him. Of course, with him abandoning afterwards, he's not going to be able to set anything else as we're down to 30 seconds, 20 seconds left, really. So drivers need to be on a flyer if they want to improve. Robert Elder was, wow, up to 6th place from what was 17th before.
Yeah, and he was using the apron on the front straight to make sure he could maximize every bit of his lap. He knew he was on a good one and made the most of it, and then pulled it off right after that. So we just had a massive pack of cars cross the line as the checkered flag flew. I don't know how many of them will be able to continue their lap. I think just Ted Lowendick. So Ted Lowendick will be the last driver to finish qualifying, as we're watching some cars get a nice run here. So this might move him up a few spots.
And that's Thurman being followed by Tremblay. Tremblay improved and actually puts himself into third with that 40 flat.
And the nice thing is around a track like this is that even if you don't normally have good race pace, if you can get a good qualifying position here, all you need to do is hang on to the coattails, hang on to the slipstream of someone who does have good race pace, and you're probably going to be able to keep it up there.
See, Abner Acosta is coming around. He still holds the pole, and nobody really near him here in qualifying is still out there running. So Abner's probably likely going to keep this spot up at the top. Number 5 just running around, maybe to be sure here. See, Ken Huber still out there as well. Not sure if he started his lap in time, but they're the only two currently trying to finish up the qualifying, and Acosta slows as he comes into NASCAR 3, so he's done with it. Huber in his yellow Ferrari sits in 18th place. A 40.8 was his quickest.
Yeah, see if he's able to improve. And you mentioned Acosta has a nice cushion from pole back to second, about 0.3, Joe, but 14 cars within 1 second. That's saying something considering how long this track is.
Yeah, decent length lap. This last one looks like Huber was done, so he did not get across the line in time. That means that our grid is set. Why don't we go through our starting order here? It'll be Abner Acosta on the pole. As we mentioned, Christian Eisler will be starting next to him, one of his rivals here in the championship. Those two in second and third in the points right now. Jean-Marc Tremblay will be starting third. Jose Malbron, P4. Then you've got Paulo Munoz in fifth. To his outside, it is Leif Peterson. Robert Elder on the next row to the inside in seventh place, with Sean Romig in eighth. Horatio Calquin starts ninth, and Christopher Pfeffer in 10th.
Starting in 11th place will be Eduardo Aviagak, and then Ignacio Rodriguez Fredes will be starting from 12th. Row number 7 sees Ignacio Hortel and Anthony Bazzano as qualifying ends and race session advances. That's why you see the screen flickering in the background. Caleb John Lavender will be starting from 15th, ahead of Ted Lowendick in 16th place. David Duino will be starting from 17th, and the last car on track in qualifying who wasn't able to improve, Ken Huber, is back in 18th. Brett Thurman and Kenny Rodriguez round out the top 20.
William Jansen starts 21st today, with Chase Mundy next to him in 22nd. Jorge Villegas will be starting 23rd with Jeff Carollo in the 24th spot. Spencer Simkovich, we watched him try to get farther forward, but it was not to be, stays 25th. James Hebb in 26th, and Mike Burnett in 27th. Then you've got Joey Trungale in P28, followed by Jay Steffi in 29th. Outside of that row is James LeBlanc. Jumping to the final few, everybody got laps in here in qualifying. Donald Olson 31st, Christopher Albright 32nd, and Gary Schilling last on the field in 33rd. Currently lining up on the back stretch here. Drivers waiting for that Porsche pace car to take off, and then we'll be on our way for 60 minutes of racing here for round 5. Modoff not showing, Sam. This could be a big day for either of our top two.
Absolutely, but I mean, you know, drivers who are contending for the championship that aren't Modoff have got to be wary about here. This is one of those tracks where it's not always the fastest driver who wins the race. You know, we have had plenty of upset victories here in the past, through strategy or through luck and other drivers' misfortunes. And who knows, it might not be Acosta or Eisler crossing the finish line first. Now, of course, there's always a question whenever a race starts of how cleanly are they going to get through the first corner. I don't anticipate too much drama there at the start. I'm thinking about the horseshoes already, because that's where the drivers are normally side by side. They're going through there, and that's where we have seen some drama in the past.
Yeah, certainly when we had the Autobahn race here, those saw some issues. You can see them now heading through the bus stop and onto the very steep banking. One of the more unusual features of Daytona, of course, compared to most road courses. Even on Rovals, honestly, many of them are a little bit flatter than this, but the steep, high banking provides certainly a thrill for those who drive usually on the road here in the
Yeah.
high racing service.
It's doing its best Zandvoort impersonation.
That's true. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those, and especially how the F1 cars handle those banked turns that they're adding down there. But right now, our focus is here on the PRL GTE series. As the pace car peels in, Abner Acosta has control of the field, accelerates away as the green flag comes out. Across the line, already getting single file pretty quickly behind him. Not seeing much in the way of too wide for most of the field. Breaking into turn one. Is Sam's prediction going to be correct? A little bit of side-by-side back between Fredes and Calquin and something of the second half of the field, but otherwise, that was pretty calm.
Yeah, I had the feeling that would happen. The drivers would want to just get through the first turn cleanly, but as you mentioned, a lot of cars stringing out at the front of the field. We'll see if they maintain that throughout the lap, though. I wonder if once we get back out onto the oval course, if some people will try and make some moves.
Right now, it's still Acosta leading, Eisler in second with Tremblay in third. They're pulling a tiny gap back to Malbron, who is under threat from Paulo Munoz there in fifth place. We'll get a sense of how powerful the draft is today as they start to pick up speed, heading now through NASCAR 1 and 2.
Yeah, and of course, these are all different GT cars, so some of them might pick up speed better than others. I believe this is all open setup as well, so some people might be running a bit more wind than others, although I think if you have too much wind, that's kind of a silly decision to do around here. But right now, Abner Acosta not being threatened as they go through the inner loop.
Munoz took a look on Malbron, but Malbron was covering him off. In the meantime, as they come off of the bus stop chicane, I'd say that Paulo's got a great run, but he's going to be on the high side, which is the longer way around. And they're starting to tow up Leif Peterson with a double draft they're giving.
Yeah, I think Munoz may have made his move a little bit too early here. But we'll see. He might try and prove me wrong, try and break a little bit lower than Jose Malbron. Getting very close to the wall, actually, there. And sure enough, he is going to try and... no, he outbraked himself.
And we got a car off in front of them. That's Christian Eisler. Turned the wrong way on the inside of the first corner. In fact, he is stuck because he has to wait for the whole field to go through. This is going to send him to dead last.
Well, we'll get a replay of what happened. I have a feeling it's a single car error because he had half a second rather, over Tremblay at the line. There we go. Yeah, and it was self-induced. And maybe that is why we saw that mistake from the car behind kind of reacted to that.
That's true. Acosta certainly loves that because that gives him a nice gap of about a second and a half over Tremblay. That was a long time watching that car just sit there and wait. Behind them, Malbron is currently in third, Peterson in fourth because Munoz fell back, having to dip outside to catch the car. He's all the way back down in seventh, and actually already on the attack because he just got by Sean Romig, it seems.
Yeah, so the driver is really under pressure now is Jean-Marc Tremblay racing in second place because Abner Acosta has been able, as you mentioned, Joe, to really open up a gap there. And Tremblay might be running comfortably in second. He doesn't have... in fact, there's a great scrap going on for third right now. Three-way fight between Leif Peterson, Malbran, and Elder. They're all over each other. So this is great news for Tremblay. He'll be able to run away in second. But who will come out of this in third? Looks like it's going to be Malbran.
Peterson, well, maybe not, because he goes wide. He also loses it under braking. Peterson gets through. Elder does. Oh, and he is just dropping position after position.
Yeah, just outbraked himself once again. So, again, though, that's helped Tremblay kind of pull away on his own in second. We'll see if he can hang on to Acosta or not. If not, Acosta might just go off and sail off into the sunrise.
I see what you did there. Peterson, though, how about that start that he's had? Qualified 6. He's up to 3rd already. Question is, can he hold off all of these drivers he's now overtaken? They were mostly due to their errors. So he's got to show that he's got speed. Oh, and we've had a problem with James LeBlanc, I think. Ooh, a big problem. Lots of cars. Looks like Christopher Albright, Spencer Simkovich involved. This happens in the Western Horseshoe. And I think, trying to figure out who this starts with. Looks like Olsen and LeBlanc. Well, it's 3 separate incidents. This is absolutely bizarre. That's Olsen and LeBlanc both going wide. Ooh, and LeBlanc gets a shot to the back as well. And then 2 more cars behind them spin in sympathy.
Yeah, in real world, you would call that an oil spill. I don't think it has that on iRacing.
No.
So, but the battle for 3rd is on again, by the way. Robert Elder with Leif Peterson to his outside. So, and right under braking behind them, they have Pablo Munoz. They're all over each other here. Leif Peterson goes wide in turn 1, but he doesn't go off, so he'll be able to retain 4th place.
Gives Elder 3rd back there. Ooh, everybody making moves now. And that includes Malbron. Yeah, and Fredez. And then still side by side off the corner, Cal Quinn battling with Romig. They're going to have to take the kink side by side. This can be a little hairy. And that's going to give the inside to Romig as they break now for the Western Horseshoe. Finally shuts the door on him.
Elder was flashing his headlights down the straight there. I think he was saying, yay, I'm out in front. A bit of a celebratory flash there, but might be a short-lived one because Leif Peterson is still all the way over him. They're all single file for now, but I think that's about to change in 10 seconds.
This is a big train of cars, honestly. Even though we got little breaks in there, it goes a long ways back before you finally have a decent gap between most of them. And coming up on the high side, it looks like Cal Quinn's going to try and get it back from Romig. They come to the braking to the bus stop. This is going to be very scary between them if they stay side by side. Romig is the one that loses out. In front of them, Peterson and Munoz also almost going side by side, and Peterson is the one that falls behind.
Yeah, well, that's because Peterson failed to make a pass on Rob Elder. He was looking for 3rd, and he got through the inner loop so poorly that Munoz just flashed on by him and up into 4th.
They come across the start-finish line once again. Acosta still your leaders, now up to 3 seconds over Tremblay. This group still losing ground to Tremblay as Elder's about 2 seconds back. More battling going on between Leif Peterson and this time Sean Romig. Another position gain for the number 71. Bump him up to P5 now.
The grey and orange car of Malbran also trying to make aggressive moves, trying to compensate from the mistake he made a couple of laps ago, work his way back up through this pack. And as you mentioned, Joe, this pack really goes back all the way, I would say, to 14th place. Caleb John Lavender in that position.
Whoa, and Peterson got a shove from behind. That's actually going to send him into Cal Quinn. That started with Malbron, who you were just talking about trying to make his way back forward. He loses spots because of that, but he keeps going. Unfortunately, those who he made contact with had the worst of it. There, you're going to see it right there.
Yeah, and very fortunate that wasn't big. Leif Peterson really had no control as he was sliding through the grass there. Came back on, took out 1 car. So bad news for Peterson and Kalkin there, but the rest of the field gets through okay.
Kalkin's view. Poor guy just, he had no idea what was coming, and suddenly he slammed into the barriers. That was a very hard hit because he's extremely slow on the banking now. The 666 is down to 24th position already.
Yeah, it was a devilish hit. By the way, change for 3rd place, Paulo Munoz has gone by Robert Elder. That happened in the inner loop, and Robert Elder now being pressured by Sean Romig. These 3 were in front of that accident in the horseshoe, so they've kind of broke away from the rest of the pack now. But Elder's gone from 3rd to 5th in 1 lap, and Paulo Munoz is now our new podium guy.
Romig's making great inroads himself. Started in 8th. He's now up to 4th by doing that. So got to keep an eye on that number 71 machine. Certainly seems to be lightning fast currently. The three of them working their way through the infield, around the kink, and down into the western horseshoe. I do see, it looks like one of our drivers involved in the incident has now joined Wei-Han Chan down in the pits. Wei-Han, can you see the damage on the car? What's it look like?
Yeah, but just give me a second.
Yeah, Kalkin only just got there, Joe. He actually tried to keep going, but he spun in the first corner.
So did he actually take a tow then?
Yes, he took a tow from turn one. This just happened. That's why he's only just getting to Wyham, because he was still out there on track, spun in turn one, and then towed to the pits.
Yeah, no visible damage at this point. I think he's just sitting in the pits waiting for his tow to complete.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on him, see if he can get back out and race as we watch this battle up towards the top between Munoz, Romig, and Elder.
Yeah, there's one thing I've been noticing, Joe. Some drivers have been taking a lot of liberties with the exit of the inner loop. And if you do that too much, if you cut the exit of that inner loop too much, you do get a slowdown.
That's a good point. I wonder if that could play a factor in some of these fights. Down and out of turn one. Munoz not under attack that time. Oh, but we got a big problem. Christopher Pfeffer is turned around. This is down in turn one. He's the number 66 machine.
I think Jose Malbrand may have been involved in this one too. He's going very slow down the straight.
And you know what? This was just a set of unfortunate circumstances between them. Both of them are going to lose it in this corner independently of each other. And then as Malbron tries to get going, he gets hit in the side by Pfeffer. Pfeffer gets turned around.
Yeah, it looks to me, even though they didn't hit each other, Joe, I think it was related. It looked like they were all trying to outbrake each other and they both went too far.
Malbron down to 16th. Wonder if he's got suspension damage, since you were mentioning he was losing positions. Trying to figure out where Pfeffer wound up. Oh, he wound up in the pit lane already. He must have taken a tow as well.
Yeah, well, as Wyhar mentioned with Kalkin down there, even though visibly these cars might not appear to have that much damage, it's not going to take them a lot to feel upset around here just because of the high speeds.
Drivers already falling victim to this place as we head over to 10th, where we got a nice little battle between Lavender, Peterson, and Lowendick. Peterson might lose out to Ted, who's going up on the high side. Good on the brakes as well. Peterson comes back at him, though. Second phase of the braking, and that Porsche was phenomenal. The 913 holds on to P11.
Yeah, so, boy, this goes all the way up to Caleb John Lavender, who I think I mentioned was driving 14th a moment ago. He's now in 10th. So what we got, he's in 10th. Leif Peterson, Ted Lowendick, Ken Huber, David Duino, and Jorge Ordonez Villagers. They're all in a six-way scrap here, pretty much from 10th to 15th.
I'm not surprised that we're seeing scenarios like this where drivers are kind of clumped together, unable to escape that slipstream. We head onto the banking here as Lavender racing in his home state. Sure he'd like to get a good result here. Not missing anything up at the front. DaCosta is still leading.
Yeah, and despite all the drama, you take two cars in the pits out of it, the whole field is really still packed within 40 seconds. So we don't have to worry about lap traffic right now, and getting to see a lot of great fighting for position.
They come back around. It's been a wild ride so far here for Peterson, up to the heights of third place and then finding himself falling all the way back down. A little bit of a change of position, though, between Fredes and Gach. This was for sixth place, as Paulo Munoz has a mistake in front of them. I don't think he lost a position. Munoz is in fifth, but he falls all the way back into this pair.
Yes, this kind of the front of a train from 6th all the way back to about 16th, I would say. By the way, I think I mentioned Jorge O'Donnell's Villagers a moment ago. Consider him, I think, our biggest move of a race so far, or one of them. He's gone from 23rd to 15th.
That was a very nice climb. So a lot of positions gained there. So we've seen, boy, you were looking out for those horseshoes on the infield there, Sam. But it seems like a lot of the action has been happening in turn 1. How many cars have we already had off, and we're only on lap 9?
Yeah, we've had several. And it's early in the day, remember, which is unusual to start a Daytona Roval race here early in the day. And so I wonder if drivers are just not used to the track being this cold.
It could be. As we watch from onboard Elder looking to get up into 3rd once again past Romig. He's got a huge head of steam. He's going to be able to get his nose ahead. Is this enough, though, to shut the door? He does indeed. As they cross the line once more. And no attack down into the first corner from the 71, although the door is left a little bit open by Elder. Stays ahead regardless.
Behind them, Paulo Munoz has gone wide from 5th, and in fact, we got the spin back there. Garca spun and trying to back out into traffic. Oh boy, they're all having to drive around him. Somehow that doesn't end in calamity.
That was Villegas, I think, who came the closest to hitting him, so that beautiful climb up the order just about ended. This is the incident. And then you'll see the number 101 machine just suddenly come around a blind corner and find a car parked perpendicular and moving around.
Yeah, this is where you need those supercross marshals kind of just standing there in the corner pointing to the field, telling them, go right, and maybe one of them was down there because they all got around.
Nicely done there. Good heads up from the number 101. Just barely off into the grass, and he kept it going. That moves him up to 14th now. Back up to 3rd place. Sean Romig still trying to chase back Elder and get that spot right back. Although you have to wonder, at some point, if you find yourself at pretty even pace here, Sam, why not just wait behind and save fuel?
Yeah, you would wonder that, but nobody seems to be doing that.
Not that we've seen anyways. Romig, he's got a bit of speed. Here we go. Maybe he's our first one to have the light bulb go off in his head as he lifts before they get to the braking here.
Still gets quite close to him, but yeah, he'll be able to save a little bit of fuel there. Who's dropping really far down the orders? Oh, it's Gark as the timing's updating. I didn't realize how many positions he'd lost really out of that. He's all the way back in 17th now.
We also, I think, had a spin from James Hebb. Don't need to go to it, but the 77 looks like he lost control in the inner loop there. He's all the way down in 27th position, so he's not having the best of days. Continue to watch this battle for P3. They're going to return to the banking. Turn 6, where you really got to get onto the power as soon as possible and start to build up that speed. They come onto the steep banking, and they have also dropped, we should mention, Paulo Munoz ever since his mistake. The 05 has been trying to reel them back in, but it's been slow going.
Yeah, so all of a sudden the leader's on his own. Tremblay's kind of on his own in 2nd place, and then we got a battle for 3rd, and then really the pack starts at 5th again. You really don't have, a second or two separating anyone from 5th on back to much deeper in the pack. So we've still got a lot of close racing up there. It's just not for the top positions right now.
Keeping an eye a little bit farther down, since not expecting Romig to make a move here. He's staying with it. Yep, he's just going to wait right behind him, save a little fuel. What if we could go back to Leif Peterson in 9th place? He's leading a trio. Huber and Lowendick close behind him, along with David Duino. Yeah, Bruno's made some good gains himself. Started 17th, he's into 12th position. On and through the International Horseshoe. Back out into the infield once again. Wonder if these drivers also starting to stay patient, starting to look at least long term as to how this race is going to unfold. Still got 31 runners currently out on track.
I'm wondering, you know, maybe Sean Romig is trying to save fuel, but maybe he's actually trying to work with Robert Elder to just run down Tremblay for second. You know, maybe he's just trying to make Elder not worry about Romig behind him so that they can work together, maybe into the gap. We'll have to keep an eye on it.
That's a good point. And, you know, honestly, I wonder if we could pull up a comparison between Elder and Tremblay on their last few laps then. See what they're running. If he is starting to gain on the 27. Is that good eye on that, Sam? I didn't even think about them maybe trying to move up quicker. Yeah, Tremblay's been consistently slower than Elder.
Oh, but Romig sticking his nose... I don't know if Romig intended to stick his nose in, actually, through turn one there. I think Elder just kind of overshot the first corner. Romig does seem to be driving a little bit better than Elder right now, and if I'm thinking that, you can be sure that Romig probably thinks that as well.
Saw we had another driver head into the pits. Looks like Ignacio Hortal is taking service. We'll send Wei Han to try and check into that and see what happened. Oh, and Romig is off in the Western Horseshoe. I think he outbraked himself. Got the replay pulled up. He did a good job, honestly, avoiding Elder in this. We were a little late there.
Yeah, he didn't do a good job of avoiding the wall.
Starts to lose it and just suddenly has to jerk the wheel to try and make sure it doesn't slam into Robert.
Yeah. You know, I almost wonder if his folly there was he was following Elder too closely. If he, you know, just wanted to be safe and run behind him and save fuel, there was no reason to be that close to Elder entering the turn. And, you know, it looks like he kind of got caught off guard by how early Elder slowed down for the corner.
I think Wei Han's made his way down to Ignacio's pit. Was that a scheduled stop, or was this something that we didn't catch out on track here?
Just having a look.
Well, while he's looking at that...
something that's not scheduled. Pisano, yeah, big spin, and almost collected a couple cars coming back out on the circuit.
Yeah, Anthony Pisano, very, very close moments. Just spun on his own. We've got the replay pulled up.
Oh, well, okay, here we'll get another replay of the start here. I thought we were going to watch a replay of his near collision, because this is just a mistake he makes on entry. The scary part, Joe, was him rejoining the circuit. So there you see, he lost it under braking, and then sees he has a gap, and that's probably what saved him, actually. It probably looked closer than it was.
Yep, as we come back live, and go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, as dangerous as that was, he had a gap. That's, I think, that was an acceptable gap to pull back out in. Change for 12th place, actually 11th place now with that spin we just saw. Villegas just made a move on Sean Romig, so Romig going the wrong way. But man, Jorge is having a great race. We already mentioned how he was 23rd up to, 15th a moment ago when they caught him. Now he's up to 11th.
Clearly his race pace is much better than his qualifying pace. The 101 is leading this train of cars, which is changing positions because Romig's being overtaken by Malbron down to the low side. And I might have one more go through. There goes Pisano.
Yeah, and Leif Peterson just got Ken Huber for 6th. So,
all right,
a change, but I wouldn't take a replay of this. I think we're about to watch a lot more action because they're all on top of each other. 5 cars here.
Incredibly bunched up. This goes from 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th here in this group. We're on board with Peterson, looking back at the yellow machine of Huber. Lowendick back there in 8th in the Ford, trying to come forward. And Duino and Lavender trailing out the last of these 5. They come onto the banking. Great exit from Leif Peterson, though, as he gets the power down and gets his speed up. They all spread apart except for Duino and Lavender, who look like they might have an exchange if they want it.
Yeah, so coming down the back straight now. Doesn't look like any moves will be made here, but maybe into turn 1. I don't think I've ever really seen a race this aggressive, at least for a while, Joe. And I know it's a 60-minute sprint race format. I guess we're just used to drivers treating the Daytona Roval as an endurance race. And obviously that's not the mentality these guys have came in with today. We've seen plenty of drama and we're not even halfway yet.
They really have. I'm kind of with you. This is not only usual for this track and these cars, but for this series as well, as they plunge down into turn 1 once again. And it's going to be Peterson to the outside of Huber. But I think Huber's got this. Maybe not, because Peterson guns it off the corner extremely well. Once again, they try and play chicken down into the International Horseshoe. Huber working the long way around in that yellow machine. And still neither of them are willing to give way. Eventually, this is going to have to get sorted out, but both are fiercely clinging to it. And finally, Huber gets up in front of him, and he gets a shot from behind as Peterson gets hit.
Yeah, Peterson got into the back of him there. That was just 2 drivers racing way too aggressively. I mean, I don't really know why they were doing that, because they're, you know, whoever won that battle could just get repassed by the time they got back out on the oval.
It missed was down, and unfortunately they both paid for it here. At least one paid a little bit more, because we're riding on board with Huber there. Gets turned around, and actually that's pretty similar. Didn't Peterson get hit from behind as well before, in almost the exact same way? That sends him down quite a bit to 9th place. The driver who loved that was Ted Lowendick, who's now up to 6th from 16th on the grid himself. Lavender and Duino are still riding just behind in his tire tracks. There's the Ford of Ted.
So Munoz and Elder are 3rd and 4th nose to tail, but they're complacent to just run like this. These 3, let's see, are they complacent to run the way they are for now? Yeah, maybe. So Lowendick ahead of Lavender, ahead of Duino, and in front of these guys, Fredez is just running all on his own right now in 5th.
So as we watch on screen with Lavender in this little fight for 6th place, looks like we do have a few pit stops going on. We'll go to Wei Han in a moment here and get his thoughts and information on what's happening out there, because right now it's hard to take our eyes away from the track. We're getting ready to head onto the banking once more, led by Ted. Lavender giving chase, and then also Duino back there in the number 505.
A total of 4 cars having made the pit. Sorry, Joe.
No, go ahead.
A total of 4 cars having made the pits, because we've already been reaching the halfway point of this race, and we would expect the pit window of this race to be a little bit smaller than usual. So this late into the race is where drivers would begin making their way to the fields.
Thanks for that information, Wei Han. Yeah, you're right. It's almost halfway through at this point, so if drivers can make it that far, then they're good to go to the end at least. Ooh, this is a good run from Lavender on screen in the Ferrari. Starts to lift, though. Ooh, bit of a fake, a juke from Ted. Is he trying to fool him into thinking he's going to pit, or what is he doing there?
Yeah, I was wondering that too, but that was way too late to attempt a fake, I think, and didn't really cost Lavender any time, I don't think. Worth noting, one of those cars that Wayhan mentioned that came into the pits was Leif Peterson, so obviously he would have tried to get a little bit of damage repaired.
See, Malbron also has hit in. We know that he's had some contact during this race, so maybe same deal. Wants to try and alleviate some of the drag on the front of that car. There you see him in his stall right now. So he'll have that out of the way.
Oh, Ted Lowendick.
Once again, the Western Horseshoe.
Well, so did he get help on this one? We might be able to get a replay.
Let's see. I don't think he did. Nope. That was all on his own. Watch the inputs here. There's his hands off to the left. That didn't snap right away. Just mid-corner, it looked like it started to leave him.
All right, so he was 6. What does time in the scoring say now?
10th place. That was not too many lost, but still, that was a very good run up to that point. Just a reminder, we have a leader in this race. His name's Abner Acosta. He's taken advantage of things way better than many of those around him because he's got about a 10-second lead over Tremblay. He's just been blitzing the field.
Yeah, and we never really mentioned much what happened to the driver who started behind him. Christian Eisler has worked his way back up to, well, he just came across the line. He's 13th now.
Yeah. And some of that was gained by the pit stops that have been happening, which we've had a few more. I see Huber has come in. Looks like Steffi as well. But still up to 13th. He might be able to recover something out of this. This is probably going to hurt his points haul, though. I'm not sure that we'll see him get up to the top 5 and continue that streak. That seems like a tough ask to me, Sam.
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see. Maybe he'll be able to play a strategy card and get a bit of a better pit stop than some of the drivers in the middle of the field. It's always a nice way to make up a position or two.
Yeah, well, and if everybody else around him is pitting, you will get a little bit more clear track, I imagine. So that'll certainly help things. We've had a couple more of those pit stops in there. Did you see anything, Wayhan? Who all came in? Because I thought I spotted a few others that I didn't call out.
Yeah, well, quite a lot of more drivers having made the pit, so the total count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 cars in total. So I think most of them they made the move into the pits at around lap 16 or so. But I think over the past couple of laps, it's been Ken Huber, Jose Malbran, and Kenny Rodriguez as well as Jay Steffi. These guys have made the most recent pit moves. We're also having a look at Eduardo. Him making a pit in as well as Rodriguez.
Yeah, I see Eduardo Gach also coming in. Fredez is in his stall. You're right. It's like those two teammates actually pitting next to one another. Fredez back out in the number 96. Looks like it's a pretty typical stop. Most of the drivers running about 17 to 19 seconds to get their fuel and then be on their way. Fredez cycles back out in what looks like 15th, but he's going to be stuck behind a car who has yet to stop.
Yeah, it's never good to come out in traffic. You can't always predict those things. You can anticipate them, but, you know, forecasting. So, we got contact down in turn 1 between Jose Malbran and Ken Huber. They both keep going, but there was definitely a bit of argy-bargy down there.
Let's take a look at the replay on that. I'm not sure if this is an intentional move or not.
Looked like an aggressive pass.
It really does, but he kind of bobbles on the way in. Watch the orange and gray car. Huh.
Well, he
I'm
wanted
glad they
that
came out-
position.
Yeah, I'm glad they came out of it, but that was yeah, I would not expect a move like that, especially being able to gain that late in the corner. Looks like our leaders have come in though. Wei Han, what do you see?
I see everyone making the moves for the pits now, so I would appear that this is crunch time for everyone in the pit lane. So temporarily the lead has been handed to Paulo Munoz because at this time most of the race leaders have already made it back in.
Yeah, and
If
that oh, go ahead.
if I was a Costa here, Joe, I would have put in a bit of extra fuel just in case. He's got a 10-second lead. There was no reason for him to hurry that pit stop.
Yeah, I'm kind of in agreement there on that one. Tremblay comes back out after him. He'll return in 6. So we're still waiting on Munoz, Elder, Lavender, Eisler, and Albright to pit. Everybody else has been in besides those few. Costa's really had control of this race, though. He's got 24 minutes left to go. And of course, lap traffic hasn't been too much of an issue. Not usually something we discuss much here in sprint races at this track, with the wide banking allowing you to try and get through some of that lap traffic. There you see the number 5 on screen. Now we hop on board the rear wing.
Yeah, let's go back over and look at Jose Malbran. Oh, no, never mind. Let's watch your leader pit.
Yep, that's Munoz on his way in. Elder follows. It's a long ways back to Lavender and Eisler. I'm mostly curious to see where Eisler comes back out as well. It's actually trailing. Well, this is definitely a sad moment here for Eisler. He's trailing Acosta after Acosta has finished his pit stop. So that's the car he should have been with had he not had his incident.
Yeah, so now the reason I think you do want to take a bit of extra time and add a bit of fuel here, Joe, it's a long lap around here. This is not a track where you want to miscalculate the laps and run out of fuel.
Elder returns. So Tremblay's back in a second. Munoz, is he going to be the one in third? Yes, indeed. Munoz returns in third, just ahead of Elder. Not much space between those two. Fred is also trailing relatively closely behind. Where does Eisler come out after all is said and done? I think Eisler actually is in a legitimate 13th here.
Yeah, so let's go a few positions behind him, because Sermon, Malbran, and Huber are all over each other. And Huber and Malbran, after their contact a couple of laps ago, I think this is an interesting scrap to watch right now.
We actually have a side-by-side bit of racing between Eisler and Pisano right now. This is for position after pit stops. And Eisler's going to slide in front of him as they come through the kink. Oh! Both of them locking it up down into the Western Horseshoe. They don't make contact. Eisler takes 13th. Pisano settles for 14th, but I don't think this is over.
Yeah, it's all not going to be over for at least another 20 minutes. Still a lot of racing left to go. In some ways. In a way, 20 minutes is get up and go time.
Certainly looks like it's get up and go time for these two. William Jansen, who is behind them, is he a lap down actually? Oh no, that's 4 positions. So Jansen up to 15th right now, having started in 21st, and we'd love to see them battle a little bit more. He's already getting the slipstream as they come up onto the banking. This is a great run for Pisano. Pisano's looking very quick in a straight line. He's given the inside, though, by the Iceman. Did not expect that.
Yeah, and Eisler can afford to be aggressive, to be honest. This is not a good race for him, so he needs to get back up there. You know, if he gets caught up in a wreck at this point, what's he lost? He's having a bad race anyway.
Well, maybe he's thinking he doesn't want to lose time racing side by side. Maybe he thinks he and Pisano can slingshot one another to catch the next car up, which is the number 45. Eduardo Gach up there.
Yeah, there's a pretty big gap, actually.
in a couple seconds, so he's got some work to do. We've got the screen on Malbron. He's had plenty of screen time today. I'm not sure he wants more at this point. Thurman, who you mentioned a little bit earlier, we were seeing this before we had to switch over to the battle with Eisler. Hubert, the third car in that train, and then the fourth, a little bit behind, that's Kenny Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't think we've really mentioned Rodriguez much today. He's been having a quiet top 20 race. Jose's been having a top 20 race as well, but not a quiet one.
Around they go onto the back stretch. Ooh, good bit of speed from Thurman. If you try to pass into the bus stop, it can be tricky. He backs out of it, stays in line, looks to set himself up for the exit off of the bus stop. Is this going to be enough? They look pretty equidistant apart. As we're watching this, I think Leif Peterson is going to have yet more battles on his hands, because Duino, Lowendick, and Villegas are coming up. And Jorge Villegas, he started, we've mentioned this before, 23rd, as he actually comes around the outside here of Lowendick, attacking into the International Horseshoe. He's now looking for 9th place, if he can get by, still side by side as they come through the kink. Catching the car, collected it.
Don't do it. Oh, they hit. They did it. Okay. The thing I don't like about this is Villegas has quietly worked his way up the field. I am so worried for him that he is going to end up being one of our drivers who has a good race going and throwing it away at the end here.
Kind of thinking the same thing. Even still, clearly he wants more. He's not going to settle for this. And that little bit of racing dropped them off of Duino and Peterson, who themselves look to be giving each other a little bit of breathing space, about 0.6 of a second currently. Right on board with Villegas. He took a peek, but then came back to the racing line. Fantastic exit there. I'm not sure that Lowendick's going to be able to defend from this.
Maybe it depends on which one of them have cars a little bit more trimmed out for the drag race on the front straight. It does look like Villegas has a lot more straight line speed, so that might answer that. Normally, it's tricky to make a move on the high side, but that number 101 machine might be able to pull this off. He's definitely deep on the brakes. Of course, he can be deep on the brakes and maybe not necessarily make a turn, but he does.
Yep, that does indeed give him 9th place. Just incredible. That is, what is he up to? About 14 positions up?
Yeah, but he still has 20 minutes to throw it away, so hopefully he doesn't do that.
Still being chased by Lowendick, but he goes defensive down into the Western Horseshoe. Doesn't want to leave the door open. Actually, though, that puts him a little bit offline coming off of the corner. Now they go side by side again up to turn 6. This is one of those spots we really don't want to be shallow under there so that you can focus on the exit, and I think this is going to hurt Jorge. Is down to the inside. Lowendick has the desired line. He's going to get that spot right back.
Yeah, and the bad news for any driver who gets caught in trouble this late on is there's still a lot of cars running, but not only a lot of cars running, a lot of cars on the lead lap. If you happen to get caught in some kind of damage or something that puts your lap down, you're dropping all the way back to 29th.
Very few cars have had serious enough problems, amazingly, to find themselves laps down. This time off of the bus stop chicane, Lowendick much better through there, but Villegas is reeling him in. Took him quite a bit of late braking into turn 1 to make it happen last time. This time, he's going to try up to the outside once more. Is he brave enough to try and stick it in? Keeps with it. But that inside line is just hard to compete with, and the 172 retains P9.
And as those two battle, that actually allows the two cars in front of them to pull away a little bit. Leif Peterson 7th and Duino in 8th.
Malbron and Jansen off the track on turn 1. And this actually wasn't Malbron's fault. I know we've been mentioning his name a lot with incidents, but Jansen just lost the car, and poor Jose was, well, the wrong place at the wrong time.
I'm not sure all of Malbrand's incidents today have been his fault. He's just been in a lot of them.
Certainly not one that's his fault, I'd say, this time. This is from his perspective. He's already battling with a car in front, so his attention is elsewhere, and eventually, by the time he realizes what's happening, it looks like he didn't have much time to respond.
By the way, a few laps ago, I had a scare. I thought Abner Costa, our race leader, disappeared from the server. But it turned out that wasn't the case. It was that he was so far ahead of Tremblay, I just couldn't see him. So that tells you the kind of race that Costa is having up front right now.
Yeah, honestly, a lot of our drivers up at the top have started to spread out a bit. Munoz, Elder, all not within touching distance.
Except for second and third. Munoz has really been catching Tremblay.
Let's get another lap comparison, because we were looking at this earlier. The 05 is down to 1 second away from Tremblay. And credit to Jean-Marc. I mean, he's been essentially just cruising around and keeping his race clean while everybody else around him falters. But I'm not sure if that'll serve him well enough, depending on the pace that we'll find out in a moment between these two. Yeah, Tremblay's pretty consistently losing out.
Yeah, Munoz's car was blinking a little bit there, which of course is going to be... you never really want to be in a fight with a driver who's having connection issues that can end in disaster. But also that's actually going to hurt Munoz a little bit if it keeps happening on the straights, because any time the rest of the cars disappear, he won't be picking up a slipstream.
You know, Villegas is back in 11th. Oh, you know, I just found it. Don't need a replay, but for fans of the 101 car, he had an off in the Western Horseshoe all on his own. That lost him that 10th position. So it wasn't a major mistake, but...
Joe, I think Munoz is coming here and now. Oh, he backs off. But he had the run. If that had been the final lap, he would have taken it to Tremblay.
Still, he's right on the bumper. Got a good maybe 6-7 laps to go here.
And if these two battle too hard, Robert Elder is only 4 seconds down the road from them. That's a lot. That sounds like a lot, and it is. But 4 seconds can disappear if the cars in front of you are battling.
That's definitely the case. Even though there's not too much time left, we continue to ride on board with the Ferrari. Ooh, that was a little wide there from Tremblay. He's starting to feel the pressure. The red number 05 onto the banking is going to have a great slipstream. He's going to be right underneath that rear wing. But does he dare attack?
Yeah, I think Munoz is at an advantage here because he's had to do plenty of racing throughout this race, whereas Tremblay hasn't. He's been calmly driving around, and now, as you say, now he finally has some pressure, and he's succumbing to it because Munoz is going down the inside. He's got the racing line, he's got the nose in front, he's got second position. I almost wonder if it's in Tremblay's best interest to just hand here for third place. He's obviously the slower of the two cars right now, and maybe just try and slipstream and make a move on the final lap to come into the finish line.
I'm with you on that one. I think now that Tremblay has been passed at this point, there's not much purpose in trying to fight back so quickly. As long as he can hold on to the tail of him, which we're on board with right now, looking at the number 27. Canadian's been almost faultless this race. Tremblay's 8th in the points currently, so this will certainly bump him up a big ways.
Battle for 10th place coming back on. Jorge Villegas has ran back down Gak and is trying to look on the outside of him for that position into turn 1 and try and outbrake him here. It's not going to happen. By the way, the sun's out now. The track's going to start warming up a bit.
Yeah, it's gone up slightly. It's about 67 degrees Fahrenheit now compared to 65 before. And yeah, Eduardo was the one that got by when Villegas had his mistake and went off track a couple laps ago in the Western Horseshoe. He's been able to catch him, but the problem is every time he passes him, the 45 gets him right back with the slipstream here. And this is actually not helping them get back up to Ted Lowendick, who he was fighting before for 9th place. I'm sure Ted's greatly enjoying seeing them go side by side. Don't need to go to it, but Mike Burnett had a spin in turn 1. It looks like he's retired it as he just took a tow.
That's a shame that we're having some attrition this late on in the race. Drivers have been doing a good job of keeping going. Paulo Munoz, I think, is having a couple more connection issues. That's not good news in the closing stages here for our battle for second.
Battle for 7th starting to heat up. Lavender has managed to get by Peterson when we weren't looking. Duino's still in it as well. So Lavender giving the tow to those behind him. Duino looks like at times he's struggling to keep the pace with these top two here in this group.
Villegas really wants to get by Gark. He's trying the outside line again into turn 1. It's not the best passing opportunity, really, or at least the best way to do it, but it's what he's going to keep trying, and once again, it doesn't work.
I think Eduardo's having fun with him at this point.
Yeah, well, it's also allowing the 2 cars behind them to run in, Pisano and Eisler. So Eisler could walk out of here with the top 10 if he plays his cards right.
Still, he's got to get past Pisano, who is battling with just after he exited the pits. Oh, that was a lockup up ahead of them. And I think that was Gok. Yes, it was indeed. He was being challenged by Villegas. Stays ahead, but that definitely brings them in now. It's 0.8 of a second from Pisano to Jorge Villegas.
If I'm Meisler, I definitely want the top 10 out of this. I feel like a top 10 is a way you can hang your cap on the race and say I salvaged a good result out of a bad race.
How eager does he feel about that, though? On board, look to the inside. Jorge is getting aggressive here.
It's something about that paint scheme, isn't it? It's the same paint scheme that we've seen Melbourne racing out there with.
Just can't stay out of it. Hopping on board with Jorge. They come off the banking. This is where he usually reels him in. Seems to have a much higher top speed. Just can't execute. Pisano watches from behind. Which way does he pick? Will he slip to the inside, hoping to try and get by Villegas? Is he close enough to even attempt that? He tries to get his nose in as Jorge falls back, but it's not to be yet.
Yeah, I just... And actually, Jorge might lose a position there. Anthony Pisano stuck his nose to the inside. It's just not a very smart move. It's obviously not working. He's tried it the last 3 laps in a row at least, and it hasn't worked any of those times. And all it has been doing is allowing the 2 cars behind to reel them both in. So I think that number 101 machine either needs to try something different or stop doing it, because right now he's going to drop to 13th if he keeps this up.
Hasn't been paying that close attention, it seems. We'll see what he does this time through. Back onto the banking once more. Surprised we're not seeing Eisler and Pisano get more into things. Both of them very, very fast drivers. Pisano, though, his qualifying today did not fare as well. Villegas, oh, defensive move this time from Glock. And Villegas is going to try to go around the outside. This time he does, and he gets through, but is it going to slow up his exit off of the bus stop? No, it slows up Gok instead. Here comes Pisano. He spies an opportunity. He goes up to the high side of the number 45. Starts to peter out, though. Doesn't quite seem to have the straight line speed that we saw from the BMW of Villegas. Instead, gives him a bit of a push. Both of them hoping to go by. But the tables have been turned. They're going to have to try and make the outside work here.
Yeah, I like a position Villegas is in now. He did something.
Oh, no!
Oh, and now I don't.
And Pisano goes off as well for good measure. So Eisler gets 2 spots in that one moment. Villegas is stuck. He's in the tires and can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and that's what I was worried about. A great race, a quiet race. He'd had it all going his way, and then it was just getting a little bit too aggressive late on. Unfortunately, a small mistake has cost him what was shaping up to be a really good finish.
I've done that myself, where you just lose it and you find yourself slammed into there.
We don't need to go there because it's going to look ugly on screen, but Munoz's connection issue is getting pretty bad in second place.
Yeah, you might see little puffs of smoke there. You can get a glance of Munoz on the screen. Well, Tremblay might not have to fight for it at this rate.
Yeah, hopefully this is an instance where it clears up. We got trouble.
Yeah, Peterson. Oh, and Peterson got the wall.
Nice. Oh. Peterson had been in a couple of incidents early and got away with them, and the third time was not the charm.
He has to take a tow. Well, attrition wasn't that bad until now we get to the final 5 laps here, and they're dropping like flies. And I think we just lost Carollo as well for some reason. So let's head over to Fredes and see what he's got. And you know what? I think I figured out what happened to Carollo. He ran into the incident limit.
Ah, yeah, we haven't brought that up.
Suddenly disappeared with a spin. That, to me, says that he's been a little bit too hasty around this track too many times. We're watching Fredes fight with Elder, which is currently for 4th position.
You know what else is going to throw a wrench into the closing stages here if we didn't have enough going on? There is finally a bit of lap traffic now. Not a lot. If you're 15th or so, I'd say you wouldn't have to deal with any lap traffic, but our leaders are having to deal with it.
Going over to Abner Acosta. By the way, Sam, you were hoping for a top 10 for Christian Eisler. Guess what all the drivers dropping out has meant? He's in the top 10 now.
Up in the top 10. Also, I was hoping for a top 10 for Jorge, but, you know, only 10 drivers can do it.
Yeah, and, well, he still put on a phenomenal show out here. Same with this man, although not as exciting. Just impressive with his pace and his consistency. Acosta, a 2-time champion in this series. Without Karl Modoff here to challenge him, has essentially not had anybody to race with. Christian Eisler maybe could have given him a run for his money, but Christian on the very first lap in the very first corner, unfortunately fell out of it. Christian, in the meantime, is actually in a bit of a fight with Gok still. Eduardo.
Yeah, he just got by him.
No, Eisler's still behind him. I think Gok is able to defend successfully. There you see him in front of him on screen. But Eduardo has just he's been on defense mode for how long at this point? A good 20 minutes?
Yeah, maybe 58 minutes.
He started at 11th, so it's only 2 positions up. He's effectively just trying to keep the status quo, if anything. Behind them, that is Pisano. Remember I mentioned he had a bit of an off when we saw Jorge spin into the tires, so he's been playing catch-up since then.
Good news, everyone. Abner Costa is going to cross the finish line with 20 seconds left to go. So I hope all the field accounted for the extra lap.
I thought you were going to tell me you had some sort of great invention on the line. Meanwhile, we have a battle between Fredes and Elder. Elder in 4th place. We mentioned this a little bit ago. Oh, no, Elder loses it.
Did he get punted from Fredes on entry there?
I don't think so. If he did, it had to have been big netcode. Let's take a look at the replay. I don't think this was even netcode. I think this was just Robert taking it in too high.
Yeah, so that breaks up our battle for fourth. Our battle for second has also broke up. Munoz has still been blinking a bit, but he's pulled a good 2 seconds on Tremblay somehow. And I think our pit reporter at Wayhan, did you just see a spin out there on track?
No, it was that very incident earlier. He just spun on it.
Yeah, I think that was in reference to Elder that we were just talking about. But Abner Acosta is coming up for the white flag now. Lap 36 is going to be the last one. Munoz 18 seconds behind is no worry at all.
Yeah, Abner Costa's pretty much had this race not handed to him. I mean, he still had to race fast and pull the gap and maintain the gap from the cars behind. But after Eisler spun at the start here, it's been a pretty smooth race for that number 5 car. We'll wait to see who finishes second. It should be Munoz as long as his car crosses the line.
Yeah, he better hope that the connection doesn't give out when he tries to cross the line, as that could discount the lap. Meanwhile, Eisler has taken 9th away from Gach. That was into the bus stop. That actually slowed them up significantly, and Pisano has caught them.
Yeah, another battle we'll have on the final lap is for 6th place between Lavender and Duino. They are nose to tail into turn 1, actually door to door in turn 1 right now. Duino just made a move on Lavender.
And he makes it successfully. That battle we were watching between Gach. Oh, and Gach tried to reattack Eisler and lost control of the car. Regains it in time to give it up to Pisano. Apologies to our poor directors. Got multiple battles happening at once here. Let's take a look at that save, because that was a good save.
I think Acosta's coming to the finish line momentarily, but we'll get one last view of this.
Yeah, we got enough time. He's only coming out of the bus stop right now. This bobble, though, is something to see. Good catch here by Eduardo. Whew. All right, let's come back live, because the number 5 is out of NASCAR 4. Abner Acosta, the first person to claim victory this season besides Carl Modoff, and it's here at Daytona. A win for Abner Acosta. Munoz coming home in second, trailed somewhat distantly now by Jean-Marc Tremblay. It's a whole 3 seconds back.
Do you think Tremblay might be saving fuel?
He does look a little slow, if I'm honest.
Munoz. I saw Munoz's car cross the line, and iRacing did as well. He gets second.
Fred is awful close to Tremblay, but he barely beats out. Well, no, that's Olsen. That's a lap down car.
6th is up for grabs. Duino going defensive on Lavender. He's leaving the low side open.
They bang doors. They come together once again, touching once more, just a nose ahead for Lavender, and he takes it. Woo, that got rough. Eisler gets to 9th place.
16th is a battle. No, it's not. William Jansen has gone off. He was in 17th trying to get it from Jose Malbran, but cut the bus stop, so Jose Malbran will get 16th.
I think Steffi might be able to go by, depending on how much time Jansen has to give back here. There's Steffi and the green and black machine. He's got a whole head of steam. William can't do much about this, just covers off the inside, but it's too little too late. Steffi indeed nabs the spot at the line. That gives him 16th actually. And that's the last of our drivers on the lead lap. So we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around, because on screen you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Daytona International Speedway. We just watched round 5 in the PRL GTE series. Abner Acosta took the win. He didn't have Karl Modoff here today, but boy, did he grab this one with both hands. 18 and a half seconds between himself and second place at the line. That was Munoz, who we were nervous about being able to see the finish because of his internet connection, but it held out in the end. Third place went to Jean-Marc Tremblay with a well-run, if not the quickest run race, but still consistent as hell. Ignacio Fredes finished in P4 with Robert Elder taking a top 5 himself. Caleb Lavender with 6th place. David Duino took 7th himself, and Ted Lowendick 8th. Then you've got Christian Eisler. He started in 2nd and he finished in 9th, but that's not the whole story. He fell to the very back of the field on lap 1, so that is a tremendous effort from him. Anthony Pisano rounds out your top 10.
Then in 11th place, we have Eduardo Villeguec, who had some great battles throughout the race. Unfortunately, couldn't bring home a top 10 to show for it. Sean Romig comes home in 12th place ahead of Brett Thurman and Kenny Rodriguez, so both of which moved up several positions from where they started. One driver who was definitely interesting to watch today was Jose Malbren, but he did bring it home at the end with a 15th place finish ahead of Trey Steffi, who jumps up to 16th at the end. William Jansen and Christopher Albright. Ken Huber, how is he all the way down in 19th? You may wonder. He ran out of fuel on the final lap, but he still crossed the finish line. Granted, in pit road, but still he crossed the finish line. On the lead lap, 1 lap down is Chase Mundell in 20th.
Then from there, you get a lot of lap down cars. Spencer Simkovich, Donald Olson, Gary Schilling, and James LeBlond. And after that, it's DNFs or drivers who are multiple laps down in the field of our 33 starters here today. That takes us to our winner, Abner Acosta, who joins us here in the booth. Abner, first win of the season. Without Karl here, does that kind of take away some of the thrill? Or are you still pretty happy with this?
Yeah, I mean, Karl wasn't here, so I didn't have to battle it as much as the first 2 or 3. So as soon as I saw that he wasn't gonna make it, I figured I needed to get all the points available on the table, and I got lucky with that spin in the second lap.
Certainly. And I mean, like you said, you still had to capitalize on the situation as it was presented to you. You looked just incredible out there considering how far you gapped the entire rest of the field. Did the car feel good? Because I can't say that we ever saw you have an issue.
The car felt fine in the first couple of laps. After, I didn't think it was feeling like I'd practice. I felt like I felt very in practice, but maybe everybody had the same issue because I was still kind of putting a big gap. So I felt like everybody was just having issues with the tires, I guess, and I guess I just kept pulling up.
Well, next round, of course, is going to be Le Mans, so it's another track with a lot of long straights and a draft track. You've done it once here. Can you do it again there?
I'll definitely try. I did win there last season, which I did not expect to win on Le Mans because I didn't think it was good. So I guess I'm decent there, and I won last time we raced there. So I look forward to battling Modoff and Eisler there.
Well, we look forward to that too. Certainly, a bit of a shame we didn't get either of them getting to fight with you today, but congratulations, sir.
Thank you guys, and I want to thank my team, Butt Kicker and Simsa, and you guys for broadcasting. You guys do a great job.
That was Abner Acosta, classy winner as always. Up next, Sam has caught up with our second place finisher, Paulo Munoz.
Guys,
Yeah, hi Paulo. Congrats on a second place finish.
thank you very much.
You were having connection issues towards the end. How bad were they?
Yeah, like around, I think it's 15 minutes before the race, it looked at my connection bars on the top right of my screen, and it noticed the Q bar was like halfway red, and I was hoping my connection passed, and it finally did. I also didn't want to crash, so being very careful with that.
Yeah, Paulo, I think you're still having some connection issues because you're cracking in and out during the interview. But we just want to say congratulations on the second place, and we wish you the best next race at Le Mans.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that was Paulo Munoz.
And I believe up last we have Jean-Marc Tremblay joining us, and I believe Sam's ready to talk to him as well.
Yeah, okay, we'll get the other side of the story here. Jean-Marc Tremblay, congrats on the third place finish. Was it distracting at all that Paulo Munoz was having those connection issues in the closing laps?
Yeah, a little bit, but not too much. I wasn't worried about that. I was at first, a huge thanks to my SRT teammate for giving me the almighty draft on the qualifying lap that put me in third. And then when Christian went off, saw that after that Abner was running away and the guys behind me were fighting. So I was hoping that it would stay that way throughout the race. But fortunately, they managed to climb back, and it was a great fight with Paulo at the end there.
Yeah, it was, and you still came home with a solid podium finish. How critical was qualifying, considering this was only a 60-minute race?
It's critical. It's the draft here is immense, and you have to use it. I remember last year, season 2, I managed to get pole. Fortunately, this time around, I was able to finish the race. It's kind of a lucky race for me, Daytona, but it's very important.
All right, well, Daytona was a lucky race for you. Hopefully, Le Mans will be a lucky race for you next week too.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think I'll be in the top 10, honestly, but really looking forward to that.
That's all right. You set low expectations and then go out and exceed them, right? So,
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we wish you the best next race out at Le Mans. That was our third place finisher, Jean-Marc Tremblay.
That's going to close things out for today. So let's give some thank yous, of course, going to our sponsors first, Simulation Motorsports Affinity. You can check them out at simsa.net if you want to see what they can do for you in the simulation community. And also to Butt Kicker. They are found at thebuttkicker.com. Huge thank you for providing our prizes for this series. Also, a thanks go to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe to the channel. Very easy to do. Just click the big red button that says subscribe. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts, rather. They're listed here on the screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Sam, Sean, Dougie, and Wei Han. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on social media. Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram, GSRC_Graham. Make sure and check out our merchandise store. We've got a link in the description below. It's simply gsrc.storenvy.com. The next race is, of course, going to be at Le Mans, as we mentioned. That'll be Tuesday, January 28th at 9 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.